Hey, everybody, welcome to another conversation. I can't call it 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers anymore because within the first week and a half, I blew past 50. So many people have been so kind and responded to coming into this room. And the experiences of people in this room has often led them to tell friends of theirs to contact me, spouses to contact me, the contacts of them to contact me. So we're probably at about close to 60 conversations now with Andrea's conversation now that we're about to have. And I think I'm just going to keep going because something is happening in this room that is really touching me. I wrote a book called The Mosaic, and The Mosaic is a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So, right that moment, he sets out in search of the place called heaven because he wants to be with his parents again. He's looking for that unconditional love that only he had with them. And the people that he meets along the way are not the people that you would imagine are the ones that would be the wayfarers of heaven. They're not the rabbis and the priests and the swamis and the gurus and the aborigines elders and the medicine men and women. They're the trash man and the road worker, the homeless man and the blind woman. They're the juice man and the waitress and the gardener and the traveler. And he wonders, why these people? Out of all the people in the world, why am I bumping up against these people? And he hears this little voice say to him, you don't have anywhere to go. Just sit with them and listen to them. Who knows why you're here with them? Talk to them, listen to them, and see what they say. And in every single case, no matter what he thought when he came in, he realized the person he saw initially isn't at all the person he's sitting with now. In just a short conversation with him, he realized that he didn't see them the way they were. He saw them the way he was. And after that happens numerous times over and over and over and over again, he wonders to himself, I wonder if I see anything the way it is, or if I see everything the way I am. And I wonder if I could get myself out of the way. I wonder if I could slide myself to the left. What would the world look like if I wasn't in the way of seeing it? What would I actually see? And at that moment, he looks to his right and he sees a monk unzipping the sky and inviting him to walk through to a parallel reality where he's introduced to the wise one, who's the keeper of the mosaic. I'm going to pause there. That's enough of a trailer for the book. If you like it, I'd love you to read it. For those of you listening, I'd love you to read it. Share your comments with me. But when I finished the book, what happened is the book said to me, I want you to go out and do that same thing. I want you to go out into town squares, into corporate offices. I want you to go to hospitals and prisons. I want you to go to homeless shelters and to entrepreneurial businesses. I want you to go in restaurants and cafes and bookstores. And I just want you to listen to people. And I set a day in the sand to do that, which was March 1st of this year. Mid-February, COVID-19 came and said to me, you're not going anywhere, Danny. And so I thought, okay, now what do I do? So I started to put a post on my social media, and I said, you know what? I was about to go out. I would like to have conversations with people. Anybody wanting to have a conversation, please, let me know. Crickets. I heard from nobody. But suddenly I had this idea to have 50 conversations with 50 strangers. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs who are listening, for those of you who are business people, if what you're doing isn't working, change it a little bit. As soon as I put 50 conversations with 50 strangers, I couldn't keep up with the demand for how many people were interested. And then I started to reach out to people that I sort of knew on Facebook that had liked some of my posts. And I think that's how I think that's how Andrea's here. But I'm not 100% sure how I know her, why she's here, how she showed up. But I have to say, I'm so happy that she's here because I'm going to get a chance to meet her because I've never spoken to her. I don't even know really who she is, what she does, or anything. But we're going to have a chance to meet her together here in this room. So, Andrea, with all the love of my heart, I want to welcome you to 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers. Ladies and gentlemen, and myself, let's meet Andrea Gibbs.
Oh, what a lovely story, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you. today. Well, I feel that we're not strangers any longer after you explained about the book. I can picture it. And I am not surprised that I accepted this invitation. Like many people, I have a pretty rich life. I am very gifted and blessed with a very productive career in technology. I'm a technologist. I work for a Fortune 100 company, and I have a very senior role there. I'm in the leadership team, so I get to play in technology from artificial intelligence to 5G to quantum physics to firmware and BIOS, what I'm doing today currently, to machine learning, you name it, software and silicon and hardware and all that, and collaborating with governments around the world and companies and working with people. We're all basically people. And one part of my role is communicate. I'm a communicator. I'm a lawyer as well, so I work as an attorney before this particular career that I started about 10 years ago in the technology side as an attorney, corporate attorney, also for the same company. So I'm very comfortable with the exchange of words and enjoy listening. And so I'm not surprised that we are meeting virtually. We've never spoken before. I believe we're connected through A-Fest, Awesomeness Fest.
Yes.
Mine and beautiful Vishen Lakhiani, a great friend of ours and a visionary who is bringing people together for other reasons. And so I think that's how we're connected,
Yes.
Danny. Yes. And listening to your story of the Mosaic is fascinating because I have been interested in the quantum physics aspects of things, and also before that in metaphysics. Before we had a name for quantum physics that is mainstream now, right? We have a lot of brilliant people studying connection and consciousness and metaphysical developments, that we experienced. And I don't believe they're coincidences. Like the boy in the story, the boy was attracting just the right people in his life. And like you explained in your story, the universe we see around us is what we see through our senses, and we create it as we go. This is something I believe the quantum physicists explain: when you observe something, you actually affect it. And so what we're doing here is we're creating, and I very much like, I haven't read your book, but I will. It's lovely. That concept of we're creating reality as we are exchanging here is fascinating. It's fascinating also to see how other people, master creators as you and me, are in the world creating their creations. And together, somehow, this tapestry of creations are coming together, weaving together, the threads are coming together. And somehow this thread that we call universe today, we are making it as we go. And it might feel chaotic as we're in this middle of the pandemic, and we might feel things are going haywire in different places. There is an order to this madness. So this conversation with you, I'm looking forward to the exchange. I want to listen to you as well. I love to talk as well, but I love more than talking. I really enjoy listening, listening to folks and holding the space for them to come express themselves fully. And so...
I'm hearing a lot of sounds in back. Do you have headphones by any chance?
I do have headphones, yes. I can put them on, yes.
I think that's going to help.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Technology, huh? Better?
Yes, I think it's already way better.
Awesome.
Okay, good. And there was a whole lot of sounds that were happening. For those of you who are listening, can you believe how beautiful the first few minutes of this conversation is? That Andrea and I know each other only tangentially through a group of people called Mind Valley, A-Fest, but we've never met each other. And when I hear her speak, 90% of the words that she says could have come out of my own mouth. So already there is no strangeness about her by just taking a few minutes, just like what Mo did in the book. And her saying to me, already, I don't feel like you're a stranger. So look how easy it is for a world of us that live in a world of strangers to turn that whole world around and create a world of friends. And friends don't treat each other like strangers treat each other. So part of the whole purpose of this room is to invite other people to do exactly the same thing. What makes you happy, Andrea?
What makes me happy?
Yeah.
It makes me happy when I can see the smiles on people around me. When somehow something I've done or not done or my presence brings joy to people, that gives me a lot of joy. Personally, I love dancing and music and nature. And so you can call happiness, you can call joy. Happiness to me is a little bit more, I would say, temporary. It's a feeling, it's an emotion. You can be sad, and it's part of the human experience. You have sadness, you have, the yin and yang of it, happiness. I think so I experience happiness when I drink my coffee in the morning. I have this ritual in the morning. I spend quite a bit of time making this coffee, bulletproof coffee, just so with almond milk and these things and ghee and things. And it's my quiet time in the morning. I would say that gives me a lot of happiness as I have that ritual and I have my time and I sit down in meditation. That time is precious and I feel very happy when I do that. Joy, if you ask me about what gives me joy, the more lasting sense of, I don't know, well-being. It's hard for me to say, well, what's joy? Define joy. That's a bigger question, right? That joy, it really is when I can self-realize, when I'm showing up to the world fully, who I am with everything. Some people will say you have, shortcomings. Yes, I do, of course. You have gifts. Yes, I have. When I can show up fully and completely and I accept myself, let alone others, right? I accept and embrace myself fully for who I am. That brings tremendous joy that it stays within me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a short answer. We can keep going on.
No,
What makes you sad and what's the,
no. And I hope one day that we have that conversation. But because we're cut to like an hours of time here, I want to just touch on it. But we'll come back and touch on those things as well.
Can I ask you a
You
question,
can ask
Danny?
me anything you'd like.
May I ask you a question? Because I want to know about you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So may I ask you, what makes you happy? Or what brings you joy in your life?
I've had a very, very, very diverse life. I've tasted from the cup of happiness many, many, many times. I've also tasted from the cup of sorrow more times than you can imagine. And so this idea of happiness and of joy have been really, really important to me. And I think the thing that makes me happiest, the thing that makes me the most joyful, is not anything that's outside of here. I often think of an image when I was a branding company, when I played in branding for a little while. Mm-hmm. My image of my brand was a wheel, and the rim of the wheel was our interaction with the world. And when people live on the rim of the wheel, what happens for them is the faster they go, the faster they get thrown off, or the harder they have to hold on, or the more they get squashed when it's on the bottom. And people tend to live on the rim of the world, of the wheel, a lot. They get caught up in the passing things that happen in life, and they're happy when this happens and sad when this happens. Mm-hmm. When I look at the spokes of the wheel, those are the things we do. And so often when I ask people who they are, they tell me what they do. They don't tell me who they are. They tell me the spokes of the wheel. And so the spokes of the wheel are beautiful. It's what takes the essence of what we are from the hub, which is what we are. It's what allows us to take what we are through the spokes to the wheel, to the rim. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about a wheel is I used to think, before I knew anything about it, that the spokes pushed out the rim, mm-hmm. so that it would actually make the rim strong. But in fact, it's exactly the opposite. The spokes hook into the rim of the wheel and pull it back into the core, because the core is where their strength is. The hub is where their strength is. So what makes me happiest is I've had the beautiful opportunity to spend the last 45 years of my life never missing a day of meditation. And some of those days have been 18 hours of meditation. When I was in the monastery, it was a lot of hours of meditation. Some of those days were 10 minutes of meditation. It really isn't important the length of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important that I just know that I always can come back to this place, this hub that rests within me, where everything gets too crazy or chaotic. I can come into that hub and I can just rest and rest. Because even when the wheel is spinning quickly, the hub is just moving slowly. It
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to keep up with the perimeter. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that space between the words. I love that space between the things that happen. I love the space between the inhalation and the exhalation because it's in that space that I find my greatest joy. Even as I speak to people, I try and make my words pleasant enough that it'll capture the mind and entertain the mind and engage the mind in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really where I do the work that I do. The work that I do is once the mind's engaged and is not fearful anymore, then I try and transmute energy from my heart and my soul to the heart and soul of another human being.
That's what I feel with you right now. Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I so appreciate you saying that because you never know if you get through or not, but it doesn't really matter. For me, the most important thing is that that's what I try and do it. I try and do it through the quality of my voice. I try and do it through the resonance of my being.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I want to do is I really want to bring down the wall that separates me from me and then me from you
Mm-hmm.
and just have real intimacy with you, which is really intimacy,
Mm. Intimacy, yeah.
right?
I see you, you see me. We
I
see each
see you.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Beautiful.
So that,
Gorgeous.
so thank you for asking. I so
Yes.
appreciate that.
I'm just thrilled. The more that I think about being here, um, and what is going on, eh, I, when you ask me, I'm like, I have a million things going on, like all of us,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Million things, and how am I gonna make it happen? But I remember, like you talk about the spoke, the center, the core. There is this quiet voice. At least for me, it shows up as a voice. For others, might be another way of sensing your higher self or the core of who your being, whatever name you want to give it. He keeps whispering to me, "You want to do this. This is this is a good thing. Trust this." And I'm like, "But my mind. You have bazillion things. How am I gonna fit this one more thing, right?"
Yeah.
But I trusted that voice because every time has been 100% right. That core knows. We
Yeah.
know. We know. And when we get out of the way with the whatever worries, the busyness of the mind or the things around us, and we connect with those, it guides us through life to really have an easier life because we're really here to have a life of ease and grace.
Yes.
If we allow it, we're meant to have those lives. And I think we as a species, as the human race, are now kind of learning. I feel so excited. I see more and more people are feeling it, experiencing it, wanting it, learning about it, everybody at their perfect time.
Yes.
And that is helping all of us to rise in consciousness. And with we rise, everything else, the earth, Gaia, everything else is rising with us. Rising in a sense of wellness and well-being and ease and grace and balance and everything else, love and justice and everything else that will come. So super excited.
Me too. I'm so thankful that you're here and you took the time and somehow um, those voices within you opened up the door for us to chat. And for those of you who are at home listening, um, play back what Andrea just said, because there is something in that voice, that still voice, that quiet voice. It doesn't yell, all the rest of the world yells. This voice whispers. And if you listen to that voice, I know myself, I fight it all the time because it tells me things about people that I shouldn't know. And I say, I'm not going to say that to them. Come on, what are you crazy? And I fought it over and over and over, and it just won't stop whispering. And so finally I say, okay, I trust you enough that I'll say it. And I'll just, I say to people, if it doesn't feel right, just please throw this in the trash can. I don't know you well enough to say this to you. But I've never heard people say to me, maybe they're just being polite, but I've never heard people say to me, that's the biggest pile of crock I've ever heard. That's exactly what I needed to hear. And we know so much more than we believe we know. And if we would just listen to what our voice is saying, part of the work that I do with people is because they're so convoluted inside, they can't hear the message of their soul. And somehow, because I don't know why, because I thought everybody could do it, I've been given this gift that I can actually hear what their soul is saying. So I listen to people's words, but I really listen to their soul. And sometimes their words and their soul don't say the same thing. And that's when I'll say to them, I hear you. I want you to know I hear the words that you're saying. Why do I get the sense from inside you that you don't believe that?
Mm.
And we'll have amazing conversations at that point. It's amazing what happens in businesses when a business does that as well. It's
Mm.
amazing what happens in a relationship when a relationship does that as well.
Indeed.
Where people connect from inside and hear what's going on.
You know, Bruce, I mean, Danny, as you keep talking about this, I'm listening and I'm thinking, well, what is it? So part of it is paying attention to the voice. I think that's part of it. Some people might not be aware so much about the voice, or maybe, but there's something, it seems to me, this is what I'm getting in the exchange with you energetically. We're going to go for it. So I don't know any of you listening, love you all. We're going to go for this. What I feel is there is a layer of fear. We were gifted by our ancestors different, let's say, generations of humans, the Lemurians. Let's leave it at that. Whatever, however far you believe we have been in the planet, many, many generations of cataclysms and disasters and so on. And so our collective consciousness has a layer, I believe, of this fear. This, some of us might have a higher or lower or different intensities of this fear. And as humans, fear is an emotion. It's a valid emotion. It keeps us safe from the tiger eating us or putting the hand on the stove. It is a very necessary emotion. Fear is to be loved and respected and honored as well. What I feel in this exchange that we might be unpacking for people, or maybe for each other, or for all of the beautiful folks that get to share this with us, is that we are here to talk a little bit about that fear and talk about the fear of the strangers, someone that you haven't met physically. We have met at the soul level for sure, because we will not be talking to each other. There are millions and billions of people in the planet. For us to have this interaction, there's no coincidence.
Yes.
So this connection happened at a soul level. So we are here. So as you and I are comfortable with people, I'm wondering, this fear might be getting, might be the layer that is getting in between someone's heart, what they feel, what they say, where their thoughts are interacting with what they're saying, the whole system of thoughts, words, heart, the energy body, the soul, as they work together. I think the fear sometimes, when it's out of balance, when we are leaning into the conscious, what is coming from behind, from the past, that is already in the past, but we still carry it, or choose to carry it through these lifetimes, that we might be preventing ourselves, perhaps subconsciously, from engaging more meaningfully with other people or with things that we want to try, and we are a bit afraid of it. So, that came from me when we were talking, that what's happening in here, and maybe we can, what do you say about fear?
I would love to make it more personal for me, because I so respect the place the conversation is going to. And I can tell you what I'm scared of is the things that I don't know. I'm scared of losing losing my control over the world that I know. And so when something happens to me and I don't know what's going to come, then I get scared. And so part of the reason that I am creating this room, part of the reason the Mosaic came to me to teach me something, it wasn't because I knew it. It was because it's what I most needed to learn. And that is how to connect, how to really connect with another human being, how to really connect with myself, how to really connect back to purpose, and how to really connect with something bigger than myself. So the four connections are connection to self, source, purpose, and others. And they happen in that way. When you become, when you're somebody I don't know, I'm sort of frightened by you. Here's this beautiful woman, intelligent, charismatic, smart, able to hold conversation. I don't know what's going to happen when we enter into a room. I don't know what I'm going to look like. I don't know how I'm going to feel. But when I come into the room with no agenda, but to just love and accept you, when I come in with no agenda to try and do anything but let you feel listened to and heard, when I come in with no agenda but to acknowledge and validate you for what you think and believe, all my fear diminishes. When I think less about what I have to teach you or try and give you or try and place in front of you for you to grow, and I just love you and accept you for whoever you are, there's no fear in that. There's only love in that, because all I want to do is hold the space for you to be whoever you are, and in that space we both disappear and we become one being. And that
That's
in that
beautiful.
and it's beautiful. We
That's
have to fall
beautiful.
away. Something falls away from both of us so that we make space for each other to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Oh, you are going deep about your personal experience with fear. Yeah, you are interested. Yours, I appreciate you because this is inspiring me to see if I can be more personal about this fear
Yeah,
topic and what it means in being here with you.
you
Let's say,
100% can, because I feel that you can.
yes, I
But
can.
but
I
part of
will.
our fear is that we make it in principles or in teachings or in generalities where we can still run around the circle of the place we want to go into but never go in.
Yes, that's very true. And it feels safer when you are in. Maybe you're talking about the rim
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
yeah, that rim. I know the rim, not the rim. I know the core too,
And
and
you know the core.
I'm often in the rim in some aspects of my life if I don't know someone. I feel things very very intensely, and so when I think about when I was listening to your story of fear and your own personal experience with it. For me, the what I'm most scared is about. I have had my heart broken, deeply broken since I was very very young,
Yes,
including from with my parents. That some of the most loving relationships weren't really that by choice. My soul chose experience, and I'm so grateful. So I'm very sensitive in my heart, and I feel deeply every emotion. I'm intense. I'm a very intense person. So I feel love intensely, passion intensely, sadness intensely, all the emotions. And so over the years, because I feel so intensely, I had a time in my life where emotions, the depth of my emotions, I have a memory. I was very, very sick when I was 11. Then when I was 16, at that age, I was even suicidal at 16 with all sorts of different things, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, OCD, all of those diagnoses very early on. And to me, I associate feeling with dying.
yeah,
Or I used to. I'm healing. I'm kind of integrating that aspect of me to say that was then, and this is me now at 46. I'm no longer 16, and I'm not dying. And so, my personal experience with fear is looking at that fear of the emotions, whatever those are. In particular, the grief, the sadness, that type of emotions. I used to avoid feeling it, so I will get myself busy,
Yeah.
super busy and active and overachieving for many years of my life. 25 years or so, I was just like doing stuff. You know, if you look at me in LinkedIn, you have all these degrees, and then people are going, "How impressive!" Well, I was really running away from my feelings. Part of
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
a big part of it, I believe, was that let's just do stuff, because then you are not having the space or the time to connect with those feelings. And now that I'm, for the last, I would say, 7 years or so, I've sat with the feelings. I had a meditative practice, teachers, high teachers that I've been privileged to study with, that have showed me a different path. And I decided I'm going to put my foot up on that path, and there's no way back. Once you go back into, it's like going down the river. I mean, you can go back. It's hard to go back. You cannot undo. And if you go back, you're not going to step on the same water.
Yeah.
It's just not way back. It's impossible. You're just in an expansion, right? In a trajectory of, and it's being about sitting with those and feeling deeply whatever it was, grief, sitting with it and trusting that I wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
Somehow I had this, I'm going to die if I feel so much.
Yeah.
And I haven't died.
Yeah.
And I'm still here. And
So, can I share with you a little perspective? Because, again, you and I are so similar. And I so appreciate, and I just want to include the audience in this, even though they're only listening. This is the first conversation Andrea and I have had.
mm-hmm.
It sure doesn't seem like a first conversation, does it? I mean, I feel like I've known her now for 1,000 years, just from simply being able to be real and share and be vulnerable and be honest and to take down those parts of ourselves that hide ourselves from being seen. And I want to just say to you how much I love you already for
I
your,
love you too.
thank you,
Oh, you're
for
gonna make me
your,
cry.
but for your ability to just show up so authentically and so real. And it's so
Thank you.
beautiful. Um, I've known many of those same pains. I've known them very, very, very well. I've known the walls that I've put up to protect myself from those pains. Some of them are still existing. I know that I used to say that when I would get in love, when I would fall in love with somebody, I would say, I'm going to hold you back a little bit because what I don't want you to be hurt by is 2 millimeters from the core of my heart is a razor blade sharp wall.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I want to hurt you, but because I feel like if you get too close to me, something bad will happen to you. Because bad things happen to people when they get too close to me. Completely made up story, but one that I believe because of all the loss and the pain and the suffering that I've watched happen to people that I've loved.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing those walls down has been really hard for me. And suddenly I came upon a new practice. And that practice came through my process of meditation, I believe. And the process is just if I were to watch my breath, what my breath does is every inhalation has an exhalation. And what is an exhalation? It's letting go of all the air that's inside of me so that new air can come in and fill me. And I thought, I haven't been very good with letting go of the pains that I have. I've been trying to get in there and work them out. I've been trying to go in and one by one dismantle them and understand them and sit in them and feel them. What if I were just to let them go? What if I were not to worry about having to fix them or heal them or change them? Just like I want to do with people. I don't want to fix, change, or heal anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I practice that same practice on my own, on myself, and follow the what gives me life, which is my breath. In my breath, I just exhale and let go of everything that's inside of me. And in the inhalation comes a fresh new energy that no longer has those same stories. And if there's any remnants of those stories in the new inhalation, I exhale and I let go of those again. And it's just an ongoing process of letting go and receiving, letting go and receiving. And I'd like to invite the listeners to see what they feel in the practice. I'm not trying to teach anything or show anything. I'm just trying to show you, after 65 years of trying so hard to get rid of all this pain, sometimes making a boot camp in there and just living there in it to feel it and experience it. Sometimes just saying, this isn't any good. We don't want to build our house here. We want to move on from here. Now I'm starting to see that it's completely possible to just let it all go. It doesn't belong here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't belong within me. It doesn't belong within you. And the simplest process in the whole world is to just drop it and let it go and let this new energy come in. When I see you, I see this such a beautiful, beautiful being that is not confined by the walls of that fear, or is not confined by the walls of that pain anymore. It served its purpose.
You did.
You are this exquisite being that is meant to just soar and fly in the realms and to do the work that you do, not only through your company, but through the spirit of the people that you touch. You have that in you, and you know that.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, I do. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. And thank you for sharing that your experience with pain and with the edges and your heart, the sharp edges.
Yeah.
I can so even see it. And it's so natural, I think for human beings, it would be a natural response when especially when you're young, you don't really have all the tools to want to protect that. You can understand that the experiences we had, we let them go, yet I will never. Somebody asked me, if you were to redo your life, they asked me this question, several different people, all kinds of people in technology and the world, and if you were to change something in your life from the past, what would you change? Nothing. None whatsoever, even though some of those experiences were pretty challenging. But they made you who you are today. They probably prepare you for the bringing down the Mosaic teachings. Because when we experience the human's emotions in depth, we are able to, know them in your being. Yeah. So you can actually assist others in their own divinity and magnificent beings that they are. They're not crippled. Nobody here is crippled. None of you, blessed divine beings. It's almost like mirroring to them their beauty. Yeah. And when someone has experienced pain, there's something about it that it's almost like the fire and the gold. There's an expression about this where you purify, you can see the gold more and more. And everybody, as humans, we all experience some level of suffering and pain. But it's what you do with it. And as you said very beautifully, letting go, yet integrating the lessons of that, or the experience of that, the resilience that comes with it. How you get, that you're resilient. Life is much, much bigger than that moment. Things are not, you're not diagnosed with something for life. Like my diagnosis is, I'm not my diagnosis. I don't have any of those symptoms anymore for many, many years. Though the doctors will say it's forever. You never get rid of OCD. I never thought about, I'm going to get rid of it. I just faded away. As a divine creator, I can align my body and balance it. But that took time. And so maybe I'd love to hear about the letting go of the blade. And I know I've seen pictures of you and your wife and the beautiful relationship you have and how you speak so beautiful about her and she about you, and you interview her, and I watch snippets of it, of the two of you.
Thank you.
So she's right there close to your heart.
Yes, yes. When I think about the people, or when I feel the people that have affected my life, really, really affected me, I think about being in India, and it wasn't the saints that we visited their ashrams. It was sitting on a bus and catching the glimpse of a woman walking on the street. She was in the garb of a beggar. She was carrying a baby in her arms. But her gait And the way she moved, the regalness of her back, spoke of a queen walking in that body, not a beggar. And I only caught her for a passing second as a bus passes through a street. And I cranked my neck to see her again and again, just so I could have her for a few more seconds in my consciousness. What's always touched me and changed me is not the words that people have said or the books that they've written or the movies they've made or the stories they've told, even though those I think are very beautiful. It's a moment of presence that I felt when I was with them. And I think that I've spent a lot of time working through my pain. I don't mean to downplay that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't that that's changing anybody. What's changing people, if anybody's changed, is the ability to just open my arms up and just love and accept.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea, I've had the beautiful opportunity to be amongst the richest people in the world, to sit at their dining room tables, to play in the living room with their children, to meet their parents, to get counsel from these people and for them to ask my counsel on things that they were doing. I've had that same opportunity with some of the biggest spiritual teachers in the world, some of the most motivational people and inspirational speakers. Again, to sit at their tables, to talk with them as friends. And I've also had the glory to sit on the street corners with the poorest of the poor, to have them introduce me to their friends and give me their counsel, and occasionally ask my counsel as well. And it has been such an absolute privilege to be able to sit with all of these people and to learn from them, but not learn from them as a student and a teacher, but as just a friend, in coming together and blending our energies. And what it taught me is this verticalness of the relationships we know of teacher, leader, follower, student,
Mm-hmm.
helper, fixer, changer, changed,
Mm-hmm.
is dissolving.
Mm-hmm.
What simply happens is when pieces come together like a mosaic, when broken pieces meet whole pieces, when colored pieces meet different color pieces, when different shapes and sizes come together and form this beautiful artistry that is so much more beautiful than anything they could be on their own. These
Mm-hmm.
pieces together create something more than they could ever have on their own. And so what it leads me into believing and leads me into practicing is, how do I become a malleable piece in the mosaic of life that allows me to just connect at will to someone else who wants to connect at will, and open up that space to have everything that I am and all that I bring to the world touch all that they bring to the world and just create this beautiful mosaic together. It isn't in the words that I say. I say nice words, I hope. It it isn't in the stories I tell. I tell nice stories, I believe. It isn't in the brilliance of my mind, and my mind's brilliant. I get that. I tested high with IQ, but I don't think it's any of that. Out of all the people that I've met, rich, poor, black, white, people of all different borders, people of all different work, people of all different religions, all different things, all any of them have wanted is these three things: to be loved and accepted,
Mm-hmm.
to be listened to and heard, to be acknowledged and validated.
Exactly.
And I realized I could give that to
Exactly.
people. That's not hard to do. I could do that for everybody I meet.
Yes, you can. You are. It's
Thank you.
beautiful. It's
And
beautiful.
you are
You,
obviously too.
thank you. Yes, and exactly as you said, love, being loved, accepted, loved, listened to, and accepted and validated. And it starts with self-love. I think there's a big step here where you can't give to people what you don't have. You can't give it to another if you don't love yourself. It's almost impossible. True love, it starts with the self.
Yeah.
That was an amazing realization for me.
So
And
I break that reality if I can, and I'll tell you why.
you, okay.
Okay, I challenge it because um, for all too long I've heard that, and I've allowed it to be my reality until I realized that's only true if I am the giver. But if that brokenness in me realizes he can't do anything, I wondered, why does everybody feel not good enough? Why does everybody feel like they're not worthy? Why does
Mhm.
everybody feel, and I have my theories on it, but I'll go in that another time.
Mhm.
Now when someone says I don't feel good enough, I say celebrate that.
Yes.
I want you to just enjoy that you're not enough, that you don't feel good enough, and I'll tell you why. Because maybe now you'll give up and you'll surrender to that power that comes through you that's good enough to do anything. And when you get out of the way, when you slide yourself to the left and allow that which can do anything to come through you, it will. And it will change the world around you, because even if you're broken and it can only come through a tiny little crack in your in your vase, it will use that tiny little crack to shine its light onto a world that's dark. And that light is so bright that even that tiny crack will illuminate worlds and worlds and worlds. Now,
Mhm.
I also do believe that in order for me to take down my wall, I have to love myself, because it's my wall that I've put up to protect myself from my own assault. If I spend most of my time putting myself down, thinking I'm not good enough, I'm basically hitting myself. After I hit myself a few times, I'm going to put up something to protect myself from hitting myself.
Mhm.
And I don't know
Mhm.
where I'm going to hit myself. So that wall becomes 2 millimeters from my whole body. And I'm walking around in a silo that is totally confining.
Mhm.
When I'm kind to myself, then I don't need to put up a wall to protect myself from hitting myself. So I can drop that wall, and suddenly my world grows exponentially. But that doesn't mean that God can't use what he has available before I do that, because he can do anything, or she can do anything.
Indeed. Indeed.
Does that make sense? So I like to
Um,
challenge, I like to disrupt some of the concepts that people think are believable concepts.
yes. It's a very beautiful perspective. Yes, and for me, right, the expressions of love, um, and self-love doesn't mean that it means all of it. It means loving all aspects of me, even the ones that sometimes doesn't feel worthy.
Yes, yes,
That's
of
something
course.
that as humans, we do have that going on. I have that going on. I'm not good enough, or when I when I do something bigger than I'm doing now. Well, who me? Who am I to aspire to be? Whatever that is, And is that? But I realize that my ability. I have children. I have two daughters, and their presence in my life when I have my daughters, that was such a beautiful gift to me to be able to experience that sacred love that probably the creator, whatever name you have for the creative force, God, whatever name, if you believe in a creator and the origin of all things, right? That love of that the creator is infinitely more than what a parent feels for their children. And when
Okay.
feeling the love for my children, I realize love doesn't mean that you're gonna like everything about you.
Yeah.
Is about that connectivity with the heart and accepting of the self with all of it, all aspects of it,
Yeah.
exactly as you are. And then that love outside, for me, in my experience, when I truly feel the love and the connection with another, is when I accept them for who I don't have to like their personality. I don't have to like little people that lie, or I don't have to like that aspect of their personality. But it's that loving the soul and loving the person, the totality of who they are. And
Yeah.
it's almost like state of being. It's not so much a feeling, it's a state of being. um, and it's a constant, it's an ongoing I wouldn't say process, but it's not, you're not arriving. I'm loving me, and I arrive to loving the world. It's a daily practice, it's a moment to moment practice. So to complete some of your thought there, is a moment to moment. It's not like I'm done. I love myself. I made it to life.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
You, my young little friend, are intoxicating.
Ah,
And time has passed us by so quickly.
yes.
We didn't do any of what I normally do, but I love what we did
Ah,
do. Um, and so, because I want to honor time, and because another stranger is about to wander into this room, um,
fun.
what I would love to know is, given the opportunity to have, you have 2 minutes,
Hmm.
out of all the beautifulness that is you, out of all the pain that's you, out of all the tumultuous that is you, and all of the harmonious that's you, what would you like to share with this world in 2 minutes that might give them a taste of who you are? Not because you want to change them or fix them or tell them what to do, but just by them connecting to that essence of who you are, everything gets transformed.
2 minutes. Well, I'm gonna talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, I see you, and I love you, and you matter, and we are one. And I feel you. I feel you now. I will feel you tomorrow. I've known you, and we are all staying together through the rest of our existence here and later. And I hope that you feel that from the heart, because I'm sharing it from my heart to all of you.
I feel it, and I'm sure everybody else feels it. When people have felt it and feel you, and when they become as intoxicated with you as I am, and want to reach out and get to know you, is there some way they can do that?
They can. Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about this. My Instagram account is public.
Okay.
Andrea Zast is my name in Instagram.
Will you do me a
Facebook
favor, and
also.
will you send me links to those places, so Instagram or
Yes,
Facebook, you can see, stay in touch with Andrea?
we'll
Um,
definitely do.
and will you also send me a headshot of you, so that
Headshot.
so that I can put it on the cover of this episode?
Absolutely will.
Okay.
It's been a delight, Danny. I enjoyed this. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope that many more people come and talk to you. You're a gift.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I hope that this will not be our last conversation, but our first.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. Better not.
Okay. So for those of you who have, for Andrea, thank you for your time. Thank you for finding time to allow me to be in your life for this hour. For those of you who listen to the show, this was a different show, and beautiful. And sometimes you just go with where the show is going rather than the format of the show that you think you're going to have. But I would love for you to listen to this. I'd love for you to replay this. I'd love for you to hear it and feel it, because what was in this show has the potential to really adapt and change some of the things that you're doing in the way you live your life. So I want to thank you. If you like the show, please share it with your friends. If you know somebody else that might want to have a conversation, please invite them into this room to share that with me. They can contact me and we can set up a time. Andrea, as we leave, is there one last thing you want to tell people, or one thing you want to say?
You got it. You got this. You got this. That's all.
Okay. Okay. So you got
Much
this,
love.
guys.
We
Much love
got
to you.
this.
Thank you so much for all you give. What a blessing to have you be here. And I'm so happy we got a chance to know each other for a tiny little bit. Hopefully, much more coming.
Same here. Thank you, Danny.
Okay.
Bye bye, everyone.
Big love. Bye bye.
Bye.